The UES Dauntless drifted, dead in space, its fusion drives cold, and its hull breached by railgun slugs. Captain Harry Dixon dragged himself across the blood-slicked deck, alone and wounded, the last man standing against the alien boarding party. He was ready to make his final stand. Dixon had already lost his crew, his friends, his family. Earth was besieged, humanity driven to the brink of extinction by the relentless onslaught of the Sakari Empire. Now, far from home in uncharted space, he would die as he had lived, a soldier fighting to his last breath. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Laros, rebel leader of the Sakari resistance, had no love for humans. His people had suffered for generations under the boot of the Sakari monarchy, and he'd lost too many friends to the royal force's brutal oppression. When his ragtag band of freedom fighters intercepted the Dauntless's distress call, he saw an opportunity, advanced human weapons to even the odds, a chance to strike back against their hated enemy. What Laros found aboard the Dauntless changed everything. Dixon was no ordinary human, and the ship no mere derelict. As the two battle-scarred warriors formed an uneasy alliance, an insidious plot began to unfold, one that threatened to plunge the galaxy into a darkness from which it might never recover. The Sakari rebels were used to long odds and desperate gambles, but this time the stakes were higher than they'd ever been. With a human captain at their side and a daring plan taking shape, they would strike at the heart of the Sakari monarchy itself, and in so doing, light the spark of a revolution that would change the face of the galaxy forever. As the Dauntless limped through space, its hull patched with scavenged alloys and its drives jury-rigged to the brink of failure, Dixon and Laros worked tirelessly to transform the Sakari rebels into a force to be reckoned with. The human captain drove them hard, his gruff commands and relentless drills pushing the aliens to their limits and beyond. Sweat poured down Laros's scaled brow as he hefted the human pulse rifle, its weight unfamiliar in his hands. Dixon barked orders, correcting stances and adjusting grips with a firm but patient hand. The rebels trained until their muscles burned and their vision blurred, determined to master the weapons that could turn the tide against the monarchy. Zara gritted her fangs as she struggled to keep pace with the seasoned warriors, her every fiber aching with the strain of the grueling regimen. But she refused to yield, pushing herself harder with each passing day, her natural talent and fierce dedication catching the eye of Dixon and Laros alike. As the rebels honed their skills, they put their newfound prowess to the test, striking hard and fast against the monarchy's supply lines. Pulse rifles flashed in the night as they stormed royal depots, seizing critical resources and medical supplies to distribute among the starving, oppressed populace. Laros watched with grim satisfaction as hope kindled in the eyes of his downtrodden people, whispers of rebellion spreading like wildfire in the wake of their daring raids. But even as the rebels savored their hard-won victories, a new threat loomed on the horizon. Galen's message played across the Dauntless's scratched and pitted screens, his voice tight with urgency as he warned of the ancient artifacts coveted by the royal regime. Dixon and Laros exchanged a loaded glance, the weight of the universe's destiny settling heavily upon their shoulders. "We can't let those relics fall into the monarchy's hands," Dixon growled, his fists clenching at his sides. "If they gain that kind of power, it's game over for the rebellion, and for every free soul in the galaxy." Laros nodded grimly, his eyes hard as flint. "Then, we strike first," he declared, his voice ringing with tenacity. "We beat them to the artifacts, and we use them to end this tyranny once and for all." As the Dauntless set course for the coordinates Galen had provided, Zara and the other rebels steeled themselves for the battles to come. They had tasted victory, but they knew that the true fight was just beginning. With a human captain at their side and the fate of the galactic realm in the balance, they would give their all to see the monarchy toppled and their people freed at last. The stars stretched out before them, cold and infinite, as the battered ship bore its ragtag crew onward into the unknown. The road ahead was dark and treacherous, fraught with perils they could scarcely imagine. But they would face those dangers as they had all the others, together with courage and perseverance, until the very end. The ancient alien temple loomed before Laros, Zara, and their hand-picked team of Sakari rebels, its weathered stone facade adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to writhe and shimmer in the dim light filtering through the dense jungle canopy. They had trekked for days through the treacherous undergrowth, guided by the faint signal emanating from the hidden artifacts, each step bringing them closer to their goal, and to the deadly traps and guardians that undoubtedly awaited them. Laros signaled for the team to halt, his keen eyes scanning the temple's entrance for any sign of danger. Beside him, Zara's hand tightened on her pulse rifle, her lithe frame tense with anticipation. The months of grueling training under Dixon's watchful eye had honed her into a formidable warrior, her natural agility and quick reflexes now augmented by human combat techniques and an unwavering commitment. "Stay sharp," Laros whispered, his voice low and urgent. "We don't know what kind of defenses the ancients left behind." Zara nodded, her gaze never wavering from the shadowed portal before them. She thought of Dixon and the rest of the rebels, even now preparing to strike at the heart of the Sakari monarchy. The fate of their people, of the entire galaxy, rested on the success of their respective missions. Failure was not an option. With a final signal from Laros, the team moved forward, their weapons at the ready as they crossed the threshold into the temple's cavernous interior. The air was thick with the musty scent of age and decay, the only sound the soft tread of their boots on the ancient stone floor. As they ventured deeper into the temple, the carvings on the walls grew more intricate, more unsettling. Zara's gaze was drawn to a particular panel, its surface depicting a monstrous creature with multiple limbs and a gaping, fang-filled maw. She suppressed a shudder, forcing herself to focus on the task at hand. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the chamber, the ground beneath their feet trembling with the force of it. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling as the team struggled to maintain their footing, their eyes wide with alarm. "Look out!" Laros shouted, tackling Zara to the ground just as a massive stone block crashed down from above, crushing the spot where she had been standing moments before. Heart pounding, Zara scrambled to her feet, her rifle at the ready as she scanned the chamber for any further signs of danger. The temple's defenses were activating, ancient mechanisms stirring to life with a grinding of gears and a hiss of releasing pressure. "We have to keep moving," Laros urged, his voice taut with urgency. "The artifacts are close. I can feel it." Zara nodded, falling into step beside him as they pressed deeper into the temple, the rest of the team fanning out behind them. They navigated a gauntlet of deadly traps and obstacles, their skills and reflexes tested to the limit as they dodged spikes, sidestepped pits, and leapt over yawning chasms. At last, they emerged into a vast circular chamber, its walls lined with pulsing, glowing runes that seemed to hum with an otherworldly energy. In the center of the room, atop a raised dais, sat the artifacts they had come so far to claim. 3 small, unassuming objects that thrummed with an unmistakable aura of power. But as they approached the dais, a thunderous roar shook the chamber, a sound that set Zara's teeth on edge and sent a chill racing down her spine. From the shadows at the far end of the room, a monstrous creature emerged, its form an unholy fusion of organic and mechanical components. It was like something out of a nightmare, a twisted abomination that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. Laros and Zara exchanged a grim look, their weapons held at the ready as they faced down the temple's final guardian. The fate of the galactic realm hung in the balance, and they would not fail. Not now, not when they were so close to victory. With a rallying cry, they charged forward, pulse rifles blazing as they met the monstrosity head-on, determined to secure the artifacts and the future of all living beings. The thunderous roar of the Temple Guardian faded as Laros and Zara's team emerged victorious, their pulse rifles still smoking from the intense battle. Zara wiped sweat from her brow, her muscles aching from the grueling fight. "We did it," she breathed, her eyes fixed on the glowing artifacts atop the central dais. Laros nodded grimly. "Let's secure them and get out of here. Dixon and the others are counting on us." As they approached the dais, a low hum filled the air. The runes lining the walls pulsed with increasing intensity, casting eerie shadows across the chamber. Zara's hand closed around one of the artifacts, its surface cool and smooth beneath her fingers. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the ceiling. Sakari royal guards materialized around them, weapons trained on the rebel team. "Don't move!" barked the lead guard, his face twisted in a snarl. "You're surrounded!" Laros's mind raced, searching for an escape route, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. With a frustrated growl, he lowered his weapon, signaling his team to do the same. As the guards moved to secure them, the artifacts on the dais began to glow with an otherworldly light. The chamber shuddered, and an impenetrable force field shimmered into existence, cutting off access to the relics. "No!" Zara cried, reaching futilely towards the now unreachable prize. The lead guard chuckled darkly. "Your rebellion ends here, traitors." Meanwhile, light years away, the UES Dauntless dropped out of hyperspace near the opulent Sakari royal flagship. Captain Dixon stood on the bridge, his face a mask of tenacity as he addressed his crew. "Remember your training," he said, his voice steady. "We have one shot at this. Let's make it count." Using the advanced cloaking technology salvaged from the Dauntless, Dixon's team infiltrated the flagship undetected. They moved swiftly through the corridors, disabling security systems and creating distractions to draw guards away from key areas. As they neared the ship's central control room, the sounds of celebration echoed through the halls. The royal wedding was in full swing, providing the perfect cover for their operation. Dixon tapped his comm unit. "Team 2, status report." "In position, Captain," came the whispered reply. "Ready to initiate on your mark." Dixon nodded to his squad. "Let's do this." They burst into action, deploying disruptors that sent the ship's systems into chaos. Alarms blared as lighting panels flickered and emergency bulkheads slammed shut. In the ensuing confusion, Dixon's team overwhelmed the stunned royal guards, seizing control of critical systems. As they secured the bridge, Dixon allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. They had done it. They had taken control of the flagship. But their victory was short-lived. "Attention, rebel scum!" Prince Zaren's voice boomed over the ship-wide comm. "I have the off-world dignitaries as my prisoners. Surrender now, or I'll execute them one by one." Dixon's blood ran cold as he realized the prince's hostages included a powerful alien ambassador. The entire plan teetered on the brink of disaster. Back in the alien temple, Laros and Zara found themselves in a holding cell, their weapons and equipment confiscated. The air was thick with despair. Suddenly, the cell wall shimmered, revealing a hidden passage. An ancient, wizened alien stepped through, regarding them with glowing eyes. "I am the archivist," the being intoned, "keeper of this temple's secrets. Your courage has awakened me from my long slumber." Laros stepped forward, hope rekindling in his chest. "Can you help us?" The archivist nodded solemnly. "I can share the power of the artifacts with those who prove worthy. But first, you must face the trials." As Laros and Zara steeled themselves for the challenges ahead, Dixon faced his own crucible aboard the royal flagship. With hostages at risk and their inside man Galen out of contact, the rebels' options dwindled by the second. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm them, Dixon's comm crackled to life. An encrypted signal from Laros and Zara streamed in, carrying vital information gleaned from the archivist's trials. Dixon's eyes widened as he deciphered the message. It contained instructions for overloading the flagship's systems, a way to disable its weapons without risking civilian lives. "New plan," Dixon announced, his voice filled with renewed purpose. "We're heading to the engine core. It's time to end this." As Dixon's team battled their way through the ship's twisting corridors, Prince Zaren's voice rang out once more, filled with malice. "I know what you're planning, rebels. My Praetorian Guard will crush you like the vermin you are." Dixon gritted his teeth, knowing the final confrontation was at hand. The fate of humanity and all alien species hung in the balance as human and Sakari alike raced towards their ultimate destiny. Dixon's team stormed through the flagship's corridors, the whine of pulse rifles echoing off metal walls. They reached the engine core, a massive chamber thrumming with hardly restrained energy. "Set the charges," Dixon ordered, his voice tight. "We'll overload the system and—" A deafening explosion rocked the ship. Praetorian guards poured into the chamber, their armor gleaming under harsh lights. "Rebels!" Prince Zaren's voice boomed as he strode forward, cybernetic enhancements glinting. "Your pitiful rebellion ends now." Dixon raised his rifle, but Zaren moved with inhuman speed. A crushing blow sent the captain sprawling. He rolled, narrowly avoiding a lethal follow-up strike. As Dixon and Zaren clashed in a brutal dance, the rest of the team fought desperately against the guards. Pulsefire lit up the chamber, acrid smoke filling the air. Dixon's ribs cracked under another punishing hit. He stumbled, knowing he was outmatched but refusing to yield. Gritting his teeth, he feinted left before striking at Zaren's knee joint. The prince staggered, momentarily surprised. Impressive, human, but futile. Meanwhile, in the alien temple, Laros and Zara faced the Archivist's trials. They navigated shifting mazes, deciphered cryptic riddles, and battled phantasmal guardians. Zara's hands flew over an ancient console, her eyes wide. "Laros, these artifacts, they're not weapons. They're keys to something far greater." Before Laros could respond, a holographic display flickered to life. It showed a colossal machine, incomprehensibly complex. "A reality engine," the archivist intoned, "capable of reshaping existence itself." Zara's breath caught. "We could end this war in an instant." Back on the flagship, Dixon's team gained ground. They disabled weapon systems and secured critical junctions. Victory seemed within reach. Then Zaren's voice rang out, cold and triumphant. "Surrender now, or watch as I execute these dignitaries one by one." The comm crackled, with panicked pleas from alien ambassadors. Dixon's heart sank as he realized the terrible choice before him. In that moment of hesitation, Zaren struck. Disruptor fire filled the air as royal reinforcements swarmed in. The rebels found themselves overwhelmed, forced back step by agonizing step. Zaren laughed, victorious. "At last, the power of the ancients is mine." A blinding flash erupted from the planet below. The reality engine activated, unleashing waves of transformative energy across the galaxy. When the light faded, Dixon found himself in a twisted landscape. The once familiar starfield was warped beyond recognition. Broken chunks of planets drifted by, remnants of a shattered cosmos. He staggered to his feet, surrounded by the scattered remnants of his team. In the distance, a massive citadel loomed, Zaren's new seat of power in this remade reality. Dixon's comm crackled. Laros's voice came through, weak but determined. "Captain, we're still here. What's our next move?" Despite the alien horror surrounding them, Dixon felt a flicker of hope. They weren't beaten yet. As long as they drew breath, the fight for freedom would continue. He keyed his comm, eyes fixed on Zaren's fortress. "We regroup, we plan, and then we show that tyrant what humanity is truly capable of."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.